Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to our live stream. We are here with our good friend Silent P, and we're going to be breaking down the latest 3 chapters of Space Crush and what's in store for his comic in the future. Silent P, why don't you go ahead and give us a breakdown of who you are and the type of comic you're working on?
Okay, my name's Philip. I'm mostly a digital artist now. So Space Crush is an online sci-fi web, online sci-fi action adventure web comic that I work on completely independent. You can access the chapters anytime you want on spacecrushcomic.ghost.io. On there you can access and read all 3 chapters, and I try to release at least 2 or 3 per year is kind of what I'm trying to do right now. It's completely free. You can go on Kofi and support if you really like it, to help with just paying for the site and paying for supplies, or if you just want to give because you just want to support in some type of way, it'll be appreciated. Hopefully I can get another chapter out by this summer, but it's a real fun read. You can read it on your phone or read it from your laptop at work, anytime you want. It's just some good fun entertainment.
So let's go ahead and start breaking it down. I had the opportunity to actually read all 3 chapters. This starts in the capital city, Earth, year 5999. What was your inspiration for putting it in the future like that? I mean, that seems like a pretty out there number, but it, the way there's flying vehicles and the way everything is set up, it's pretty believable with the year.
Okay. So I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I'm also a big Akira Toriyama fan. So because of that and the way he does comics, I like to kind of add some level of absurdity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To it, to make it comical in a way, but at the same time I want to have like this serious tone to it. So I kind of chose like an out there sounding year, and then also the setup I'm trying to go for it is just a very distant future. So this is a time basically where, like, theoretically, like, humans have advanced to they've long advanced to the point of being able to travel to outer space, colonize on other planets. But basically the setup of Space Crush is, say that humans advanced and colonized on other planets, and then a more advanced species came in and conquered humans long ago, and now we're at an even farther future where, like, humans aren't necessarily slaves, but they're not at the top of the totem pole anymore. There's another more advanced species that capitalizes and runs the solar system.
And what is that species? Excuse me.
I mentioned them briefly in the beginning. They're called Lenians. But right now the focus is just on what's going on with Micho and Nico and them being bounty hunters on Earth. So they're kind of a backdrop, but that's kind of the setup to the world that they're living in. Yeah,
but they control the meta, which is a big part for Space Crush, because he's actually able to absorb that. Which was, I thought, a really unique aspect to it. And then we find out that Nico Steele is actually a cyborg.
Yeah.
So an interesting combination. What drove you to pair up someone who was able to absorb the meta like that and then have Nico be a cyborg? It almost reminded me, I guess, a little bit of inspiration from Go Gadget. Or Go Dr. Gadget, because the arm.
Yeah, I can see that. The inspiration was just I was trying to create this world where, like, humans, like, have kind of evolved a little bit. Like, it's not abnormal in this world for a human to be either a mutant or some type of cyborg. So most people, a good number of people, have either some type of integrated technological advancement in their body, or they have a mutation from meta in their body, so like some type of special ability. So that's kind of like the world is just in, where like some people are cyborgs and some people are mutants. Then you have people that don't have either of those, but it's a sort of normality in this world that I'm trying to set up now.
What's the story with Nico and Space Crush? You know, what type of relationship do they have? Who are they to the comic itself?
So Space Crush is the main character. The story kind of centers around him. Nico is a very strong supporting character that's going to have a lot of background herself and a lot of stuff that I haven't revealed yet. So I'm kind of keeping her side of the story a little bit under wraps right now, and kind of just focusing on fleshing out Micho's story and background. But I'm not trying to give too much away. Like I'm trying to keep the reader kind of guessing about Nico right now. I want her to be mysterious. I want people to read and like, man, I wonder where she's from. I wonder what's going on with her. Like,
it was really interesting to see her spring into action so readily, and she pretty much gets acid spit on her, and that's when you realize, like, okay, like who is she? What does she do? And she just shrugs it off. You know, so she's you know, she was pretty brutal, it seemed, in terms of just what she's capable of.
Right. So she's I tried to make her very innocent looking, but she's not to be messed with. She'll protect her friends, and if she feels a threat is coming, she will handle that threat readily. So that's kind of what I was going for with her character. And as far as their relationship, they are partners as bounty hunters. They're working together. They've the way I set it up in the story when you read is like they are bounty hunter partners, and they are just working another case, and then they find out this case may potentially reveal something that Micho's been trying to secretly well, I don't want to say secretly, but like ulterior motive he had to becoming a bounty hunter, which is finding out about his mother. So the way I set up in the first chapter is they're like these bounty hunters, this is their life. They go out and catch bad guys on the streets. But this particular case has evolved into something else, and kind of like is going to kind of be the match to the fire, that the match that ignites the story and kind of pushes the story forward from there.
Yeah, and seeing Space Crush go up against someone who is pretty much his equal, I mean, polar opposite, but able to equally match him in terms of being able to take meta, that was such an interesting fight, and to see it just play out. Where was your inspirations for like the fight sequences and stuff? Because they seem pretty complex. I really enjoyed seeing Space Crush go up against someone who's just able to absorb his blast hit for hit. I mean, he essentially turns into elastic.
Inspiration for the fights. I've always liked good fights in comics. So just any action comic like Dragon Ball or Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorite because they like think through their fight scenes and always have like a lot of method to their fights. So like that's definitely an inspiration from it, just being like oh, I'm gonna punch you, then I'm gonna punch you harder type of fights, just like brute force fights. Like you kind of like, no, you need to think and strategize. It's not all about brute strength. You gotta strategize. So one thing I wanted for his enemies that he fights is like, he's not just like this guy who just gotta become more powerful than a fighter to be able to take them down, but like he has to use his mind and think his way through. So I wanted him to be kind of a thinker versus like just like brute force and strength all the time. He's very powerful, but he hasn't fully master his powers, and they have a lot of consequences and drawbacks. So he has to like think through his fight. So
Yeah.
that's something like that I really thought a lot about, is that he's gonna have to overcome like with strategy in his fights.
So with his big fight, one of the guys ends up just offing himself. Essentially, he just like disintegrates on the spot, and then the other one takes off. But we see a more fleshed out story for him. Come to find out, he wanted to go visit his child. The mother of the child is at the point not wanting him to see the child because he's a criminal, and he's just trying to provide for the family. And you start to really feel some remorse for this guy after the fight. Start to see what was really driving him to commit these crimes, and Chapter 2 does a phenomenal job of filling that in for us. It provides that backstory. It gives us the ins and outs of how he ended up here. And yeah, essentially, we see some sort of an alliance between Nico, Space Crush, and it was Fufu, correct? Or am I wrong on that? The name of the character?
Eraser.
Eraser. I don't know why I said Fufu.
You good.
No, yeah, Eraser. I could have sworn I read Fufu somewhere in there. He must have been talking about something else. So yeah, Eraser. And he is pretty much the polar opposite of Space Crush. He's able to turn into elastic. He's able to take in the meta, but he's not able to absorb it, which was ultimately his downfall. Like you said, Space Crush had to use his brain in that fight, and he realized he wasn't really able to just absorb it. He could just take it in, so he kind of just overpowered him to take him down. And then they ended up going to the headquarters and asking permission to look into this, because it turned out to be a lot more heavier than they originally thought.
Right. So yeah, that's what I was going with it, is that they thought they were on this everyday case, that they were going to find the bad guy, take him down, and it was just going to be another case, and now it's evolved into something much deeper than they both thought. So that's what I wanted to go with that. And then as far as Eraser, I kind of intended in the beginning, when I was making him, like it was going to be the three of them together as all like just good guys, but I thought it would be interesting, like on maybe one of them starting off on the bad side of things and then coming over to good. So that's kind of how I was trying to flesh him out. And then I think the number one driver of like good stories is the villains. Like I love when villains have great backgrounds. I love when like you hate somebody so much, but then you find out what their resolve is. You kind of feel sorry for them, but you know they shouldn't do that anyway. So I try to give my villains depth, instead of them just like, I'm just evil, or I just want to kill people in my stories. So I was very happy to have that twist in there, where you thought like, oh, this is the antagonist, and then like, oh no, he may not be that bad after all, and maybe he can redeem himself, who knows. So that's kind of where I wanted to go as far as that with him. Like I really just wanted to have a complex character that you know, you kind of start off like, oh, I got this figured out, I know what type of character this is gonna be, but then it's like a twist.
Yeah. So let's actually talk about the main villain of the story, the Insect King, and his motives and who he is. We get little glimpses of him. I'm piecing together that he might have took Space Crush's mom, but I'm not exactly sure. That's kind of the direction I was picking up the vibe, but I wasn't exactly 100% sure.
So yeah, the Insect King hasn't been revealed yet. He's a mysterious figure right now. He's one you probably won't see for maybe a couple of more chapters. I'm trying to keep him like secret right now, and trying to keep people guessing about him right now, but I'm gonna bring out some more characters before he's ultimately revealed. So he hasn't actually been shown yet. Everybody you've seen so far has been like an underling,
Yeah.
pretty much. Like even the guy Eraser was talking to that he delivered the meta to is underling that works for him. So that's gonna be like kind of a build up to him. Like I want to kind of bring kind of like a surprise factor in
Mm-hmm.
about him. As far as like with Micho's mother. So Micho's mother went missing 12 years ago when he was young,
Mm-hmm.
and it's reported that the Insect King was behind it, but the Insect King was never caught.
Yeah.
So that's what they're trying to figure out. They want to get to the Insect King so they can find out what he did with Micho's mother.
So things do take a turn for the worse, though, for our protagonist, as we see one of them's one off, was able to meet his daughter, was able to have a good time, but then he's confronted by members of his past, and they're there to effectively end him and his family along with him.
Mm-hmm.
And things start to get really serious. So let's go ahead and break that down, and the just everything that went into that as well.
Yeah, so in chapter 3, basically, Micho and Nico wake up to find that Eraser is gone, so they don't know where he went. He got a call at the end of chapter 2 to talk to somebody, and sounds like they want to meet up with him, and he has to leave suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we find out that Eraser is going to meet with his wife and his kid.
Which was a great twist, by the way. I definitely thought he was off to do some villainous stuff.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what I wanted. So I'm glad that happened. It's good to know that, like, I don't know if people can call it when they read it or if they get surprised. So I'm glad that that worked out. So yeah, he goes to meet up with his wife and his kid. His wife just felt bad about, kind of brushing him off the other day, and she just wanted to meet and talk with him. But unfortunately, Eraser tried to quit working for the Insect King's henchmen in chapter 1, but they didn't take that too kindly. So he sent some people to kind of get rid of him because they're trying to stay in the shadows. They don't want bounty hunters or the colony patrol, which is like the police force for Capital City, to get on their tail. So they gotta get rid of Eraser. Eraser's just a loose end at this point.
Yeah.
He's no good for them anymore, and they're ruthless. They will kill. They will kidnap. They have no sentiment for anything, children, wives, or anything. So they're coming to do that. But luckily, Nico figured if Eraser left the base, which is a floating base in the sky, he would have had to take a vehicle. So if he took one of their vehicles, they can track him. So they were able to track him down. They're watching what's going on, and they see that he's basically in danger. So they decide to step in, and they're going to have to confront these guys to let Eraser get away safely with his family.
And this is where things really go south. As we see, Nico once again is able to take on someone a little bit easier. Space Crush is once again thrown against someone who is just utterly a beast. I mean, let's go ahead and break down that character, because that character ends up being a big pain for him.
Yeah. So the character Micho is facing at the end, his name is Cleops. He's basically like a beetle mutant. That was the inspiration beside.
He gave me Majin Buu vibes too.
His power is basically like his sympathetic nervous system. That's the part of your nervous system known as fight or flight. So when that nervous system activates for a normal human, the regular human body, that's your nervous system like that basically as in every person and animal, like if you sense danger, you got to run away.
Mm-hmm.
So when that nervous system is activated for a normal person, you know, your airways open up really big, so you can take in big breaths for running. You get the goosebumps, your heart rate pumps really fast, so you can get to moving. But for this character that's mutant, it strengthens him. He gets an extreme burst of strength. So once Micho attacked him and his body felt how strong he was, he felt danger. So now he's stronger. So that's what Micho is going to have to figure out, how he can take somebody that's pretty much his body responds and try to matches whatever he throws at it.
And I mean, he's going to have to figure it out fast, because we end chapter 3 with him getting stabbed through the stomach.
Yeah.
You know, the dude's able to get right behind him and just shoves his horn right through him. I mean, I was like, wow, like we're ending here. So what can we expect? I mean, how many issues are you looking at, you know, pumping out? How far are you looking at taking the story and the type of world building?
Basically what if you had noticed, like the comic is very influenced by Japanese manga. I'm a big manga fan, so I'm considering it now to be a manga, like a global manga or a non-Japanese manga. So I'm really trying to follow that format. So I want to release chapters like after I get maybe the 5 or 6 chapters, I want to make a volume. So I want to make several of those volumes. I don't know exactly how many. Maybe in my head right now it's 10, but who knows? Like, I don't have an ending plotted out. I have a script that I work on right now in the outline, but I'm trying to go for the long run with it. Like,
so what is holding you back from taking your book and putting it on paper? I mean, doing some sort of campaign to bring it to actual physical copy, or trying to get PDFs out there. You know, why go the free route as opposed to the traditional Kickstarter Indiegogo campaign?
So my idea with that is that everybody, I feel like everybody consumes digitally right now. Let me put it like that. Because I like physical books myself, and I go out and buy physical books. So that's not true for everybody, but my idea is to get the most eyes on it as possible. Let me put it like that. I want people to have the most convenience to read it as possible. So I don't want to set up any walls for somebody to be able to read. So dropping it for free kind of takes down one of those barriers. Putting it on the internet, putting it on a website that you can access from your laptop and read from your phone or your desktop computer takes down one of those walls. So on that aspect, I want to get as many eyes on it as I can without any barriers. When I release and invest in physical copy, I do plan to do that 100%. But I want to release it in volumes, and to release it in volumes, I have to have enough material for it to be considered a volume. So that's why I'm trying to get to that chapter 5 or chapter 6, because I feel like it'll be enough pages. Because right now I'm doing like 15. My median is like 15 to 20 pages. The first I went over a bit because it was the first one. It could have been a one shot, and I kind of didn't know where I was going yet, so that ended at 28 pages. But right now I'm trying to do 15 to 20 pages per chapter. And once I do that, I'm going to seriously be trying to print and sell a physical copy. And I feel like if you're a fan of something, because I know I'm like this, I'm only going by myself, because I want to, my market is people like me, as far as like what they like. I'm trying to write and draw for people that like the same type of stuff that I like, which is like comics and manga. And for me, even if I can read something for free, if I'm a fan of it, I'm gonna go out and buy it.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like I love Dragon Ball, but I can read it on any, pirating site I want to. I got the Shonen Jump out for $2. I can pull up any chapter, but I got almost every volume.
Yeah.
in my house, and I like to go there and get my book and read it like that. So I feel like if I get as many eyes on it as possible, when it come time for me to release a physical copy, I feel like people will support.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea too, having a volume and knocking out a couple chapters this way. That way you'll have everything you need, and you just need the backers to help get the book printed.
Right.
It's already done.
Yeah. So, for people that want to read, for people that's interested, the biggest favor you could do now is to go on the website, read it, and subscribe to it. Because if you subscribe to it on my site, I can see when you read it, who's reading it, how many people's reading it. And it'll email you when I drop chapters as well. So, if you're not a big social media person and you're not keeping up with the social media, when I announce that I released, you can get it in your email as well. And you will only get an email when I release a chapter. So you're not going to get all this like junk mail and promotions and all this type of stuff. You're just going to get an email saying, I dropped a chapter, and you can click on the link to read now if you want. So
how hard is it creating something by yourself? I mean, you do the art, you do the lettering, you do the story, all that. I mean, you say you are trying to release 2 a year, but how much work actually goes into it?
It takes a while, and you have to be patient, and I try not to rush, and I also, for my own mental health, try not to put too much pressure behind it, because this started out as something to help my mental health and give myself like a form of escapism to just like relax and just do something I enjoy. So it can be pretty tedious, but it's all like I love doing it. So it's just a process. Like it starts with me like typing up the script. Then from there I storyboard. So I'll do little thumbnails in my sketchbook and write out the pages, and then I get on Clip Studio and kind of start drawing from those thumbnails, and I do
that's cool.
Sketch layer, then I do an ink layer, then I airbrush and do my shading and all that stuff, and then I do the words very last, and I just kind of go from my script with my words, and I'll let my wife proofread it and stuff. And it usually takes like, the last chapter took maybe like 2 or 3 months to do, and I work full time, so I have to do it around my work schedule. But my job also allows me to have stretches off of work, so those stretches off of work are really good, where I can kind of lock in sometime and really just work hard on it.
No, that's that's really awesome. It's the first time I've really seen a comic done in this manner, and I think the plan and the roadmap you have for everything is awesome. Really, I really enjoyed the story. Now with the Eraser, his story seemed pretty personal. Was there any sort of like personal inspiration for that?
I don't know if I got it directly from anything, but I just tried to, when I thought about Eraser, I just thought about how black and white people will sometimes think about people who do bad things. Most people don't just do bad things. They have some type of trauma, some type of thing from their past that drives them to do things. So my biggest thing and inspiration was like motive, reason. Like I wanted a why to everything. So okay, Eraser's a criminal in this world. He's stealing metal, but why? He's working for these henchmen. Why? He steals things for money. Why? What's he using the money for? So to flesh out somebody, the goal was to flesh out somebody that it's this super fictional world, goofy looking characters set in the future, but somebody that you can almost feel like you can touch. Like I don't want characters that just seem very like fantasy, not fantasy in the way like we think of fantasy like sci-fi, but fantasy like this person couldn't be a real person based on personality. There's no
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
like this. So I want to create characters with depths and like nobody's all bad and nobody's all good. We all capable of doing bad things. So I just wanted to create somebody like that. When I thought of him, I didn't have any person or from other story particular that I directly got the inspiration, but I just knew
Hmm.
I wanted to answer the what and whys of that character for what they were doing.
Yeah, and I think, I really think you fleshed out his story well. I think, at first I thought he was a bad guy, and then I'm like, okay, I can definitely see why he's doing this, and I was happy that he joined the bounty hunters as well, to make that little trifecta.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, we talked about the history, we talked about kind of your plans for everything. What do you have any plans for any comics outside of Space Crush, or is this going to be just kind of like your gem that you're going to be working on for the next couple of years?
That's a good question. So this is my baby right now, but I actually plan to hopefully release some other one shots that I want to do while I'm releasing this. Now this won't be
Mhm.
like no super long series. This will be like, when I say one shot, I mean like a single issue
Yeah.
comic, and it won't be continuous like this, just because like I have to pour so much into
Mhm.
this comic because I want it to be a longer series. I wouldn't be able to flesh out a whole nother project and then just be trying to do this as well.
Yeah, you'd be taken away
um,
from Space Crush essentially.
right. So my plan is to release like another one shot that'll be like, maybe I'm thinking like 5 to 8 pages. I'll go ahead and just say like the idea I came up with, but I'm still kind of fleshing it out. But
Mhm.
basically, I got a plan to release a one shot comic about taxi driver, a guy whose side job is a taxi driver, but it's not a normal taxi driving job. He taxi drives people from different dimensions
Okay,
on the
that's
side
cool.
from his regular job.
Yeah.
And the name that I had came up for it was my extra dimensional side hustle.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like
So
that.
it's gonna be a comedic sci-fi series. Like I said, I'm trying to do like 5 to 8 pages. So you heard it here first.
Yeah, hey, exclusive drops. Let's go. So, with that being said, I think we covered pretty much everything possible that I wanted to talk about. Was there anything else that you wanted to let us know or break down for Space Crush or any future works for us?
Yeah, so I'm working on chapter 4 now. Currently, be looking out for that sometime in the summer. As we get closer, I have like a more precise date.
Hmm.
And also be looking for my extra dimensional side hustle one shot project sometime this summer.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome. I'm stoked for it.
anybody that want to read these, you can read them on the site. The links in my bio on Twitter and Instagram.
Hmm. And I'll put a link in the description as well.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, anybody that want to read, like I said, is totally free, and the subscribe button doesn't charge you for anything. You just put in your email, and it will only email you when I actually post on the site, so you don't have to worry about like no junk mail or nothing like that from that. It just gives me a good idea of who reading at the time, and I can see,
Yeah, that's
just
awesome.
good motivation.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
So, we've come to my favorite part of the podcast, and this is where I always ask indie comic creators their one piece of advice they would give someone who's just starting out in the industry and they're struggling, having trouble getting off the ground. What would you say to them to help them push through and to get their comic, just to get their comic to a comic?
I think the best advice I can give, and this may be generic, but just do it. Don't worry about, am I drawing good enough? Do I have the right materials? Just do it. Start writing. If you gonna do the writing and drawing, just start drawing. Write your story, then draw and begin. And as you progress, start thinking about what you're gonna do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Social media campaign. And you can Google and research all that. But I think the biggest, and this is personally like somebody who drew something back in 2012 and didn't do nothing at all with it until 2020. The biggest hurdle is just doing it.
Yeah.
Like you just got to do it and believe in what you're doing.
So what pushed you to pick it back up after 8 years?
I had been kind of working on it here and there over the years. Like, and what I mean by work on it, like I may have like a notes app in my phone, and I'll write because I read manga and comics all the time, and that's what inspires me. Film that I watch, and I'll watch something and just be like, man, I want to make something. Like I really just want to make something. That kind of artistic inspiration just be in you, and I'll just pull out my notes and just start writing stuff here and there.
No, that's awesome.
During the pandemic, when everything kind of shut down, it was I actually had just got married in December 2019. So when the pandemic hit in March, it was just me and my wife at home, and we was watching shows and stuff, and I had already showed her my drawings before, and she really liked them, and
that's
she
awesome.
wanted me to draw stuff for her. So I picked up the pencil, trying to impress my wife and draw stuff.
Was Nico Steele influenced by your wife at all?
Yeah, actually she was. My wife's name is Kat. So when I was drawing these characters, I wanted to be this guy and this girl, and one day I was like, you know what, I'm gonna base the supporting character off of you.
That's awesome. I bet she ate it up too. You better not do that character wrong ever.
She watching closely.
Hey, well, Silent P, I definitely appreciate you stopping on the show and breaking down Space Crush and providing me the PDFs. I really enjoyed reading it. Like I said, I like to try to read that right before the interview so it's fresh in my head. That way I'm able to kind of just talk it and bring it fresh instead of just kind of sitting on it for some time. So I appreciate you coming on and keeping it geekly with us. And yeah, definitely appreciate it. And everyone that's watching, I hope you guys all have a good night as well.
All right.
And be sure to get us on board for your new comic when it drops in the summer as well.
Yes, man. I'll definitely be in touch, and I thank you again for this opportunity and time. And your show is really cool. Like I watched one of your episodes. Was it Stick Drummer?
Oh yeah, Drumsticks of Doom.
Yeah, I watched you guys interview, and it was very nice and informal. Like he was like dropping some real gems on there for me personally, and
so the idea of this is for me to get that exposure for an indie creator, but also hopefully if an indie creator watches, they get inspired, they get motivation, and maybe they learn something to help push them, because I try to always ask questions that not only teach me a little bit about it, but like maybe someone else who wasn't thinking outside of the box in that direction.
Yeah. And I really like it, so I'm gonna be tuning in for sure. I like your show.
Hey, I appreciate
what you're doing. I think what you're doing is really cool.
Hey, well, you guys heard it here first. We had some hot exclusives and the most on Space Crush and a little bit on something new. So with that in mind, guys, I hope you all take it easy and have a fantastic Tuesday night.
All right.